Hey guys, I am your host, Dr. Jake Hansen, and welcome to season 2 of the Abundant Mind Show. And to kick off this season, I wanted to introduce myself, tell you my story, tell you who I am, what lights me up, what brings me happiness and joy, and what I can do to elevate you in your life, to help you change your mindset and allow you to achieve even more of the things that you want to achieve. I'm here for you guys. Please ask me questions. I'm here to help you support you individually, your businesses, and help you get to the next level. In life, we're going to learn lessons. In school, we learn the lesson. We learn all the lessons that we can learn, and then we take the test on it. But in life, we take the test, and it's up to us to learn the lesson from that test. So every opportunity can be a major lesson to propel us towards greatness, to help us become stronger than we ever have before. So that's why I want to share with you guys again, kind of who am I and how have I gotten to where I am today, and how can I help you get to where you want even faster. So, to start off, I always have felt so incredibly blessed. I was blessed with an incredible childhood. Now that sounds funny, right? Most people, and I'm not saying I'm the greatest who's ever lived, but most people, when you're reading about these incredible souls, they had a very tough upbringing and they had to get through that. I was just the opposite. I had a very, very incredible upbringing. I had a family who loved me dearly, parents who loved me dearly, who were always there to support me. We weren't rich, but we had everything we needed because we loved each other. We could communicate with each other, and I grew up very, very, very happy. I could honestly say I had everything I wanted because I had happiness and joy. And I learned at a very young age to have an abundance mindset. I learned that I can have anything I want if I put my mind to it. So I had an incredibly tough work ethic. When I was a little kid, I had a very bad speech impediment. I couldn't say my R's. I slurred my words together. A lot of people just couldn't understand me when I spoke. And I remember being fed up with this. And I remember I was about 6 years old, and I told my mom, I said, "Mom, I'm tired of being made fun of." Now, these great ears that you see today, I've had these size ears since I was about 6 years old too. So I would get made fun of for my big ears. I would get made fun of because I couldn't speak correctly. I couldn't talk right. So I told my mom, "Mom, I'm tired of this. I want to take basically control of my life. Will you help me to talk correctly?" And my mom did a lot of research. And this is before internet. This is in the early 80s. And my mom, one day, we had this lady who literally knocked on our door. And I still remember what this lady looked like. She knocked on our door and was selling tapes to teach young kids how to enunciate words and how to read. And my mom ended up buying these tapes right off the door. And she gave them to me. And I remember listening to these tapes over and over and over again. And these were tapes that literally changed my life. It would teach you how to say letters of the alphabet and then how to enunciate it, how to pronounce it correctly. And I would spend hours going over A, B, C, D, E, F. And I literally would do everything. I would practice saying phrases. I remember after the first week talking to my mom, and my mom getting teared up and saying, "Wow, do that again." And we had just been watching a Saturday morning cartoon called The Smurfs. And when I was little, I couldn't say Smurf. I would say Smoof. And I learned because I couldn't enunciate words correctly. I couldn't say certain things correctly, that I would just tend to talk really quickly, hoping people would kind of get lost or not really pay attention to what I was saying. And I had said Smurf. How silly is that? But how profound. I thank my dear mother. I thank my father for the support they've given me, and for that lady for introducing it to my mom. And so I began to, from a very, very early age in life, began to dedicate myself. When I wanted to achieve something, I had to find a way. There are many opportunities that are going to come to you guys in life, many opportunities, and you may not understand it in front of you. Again, in school, you get the lesson, then you get the test. In life, you get the test first. So when you look at everything as an opportunity, when you look for everything as a great opportunity to grow, you never know where it will take you. But when you understand the value of relationships, you understand the value of lessons, you take every single day as precious. We have a saying that today is my new favorite day. Today. the more we look forward to things in the future, we get lost in the present today. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have things that we look forward to in the future. We should always look forward to things in the future. But if you can look at today as your new favorite day, as today is the day that you are going to be able to have massive success, that crazy opportunity is going to come your way, that relationships that will bless your life and that you can bless the lives of is going to happen today. When you think of that every single day, think of like going on vacation, on adventure. You never know what's going to happen, but you're willing to receive. My wife the other day told me something that I absolutely love, that makes sense to me, it resonates with me. When it comes to, with our kids, sometimes, we do an activity that we love. We don't want to do anything else. We try a food we love. We don't want to do anything else. But she said, we try new things. We're going to try new things today. And that mentality has really changed me. Now let's fast forward a few years. So I loved running track. I was number one, which just sounds kind of funny, in my elementary school. I said, well, if I got these big old ears, I'm going to use these big old ears to my advantage. And I would listen to my heart. I would listen to the things that actually I wanted to do. I got fed up with trying to please other people and trying to do other sports. Like everyone said, oh, you're so fast, you should play soccer. Man, I did not like soccer at all. Sorry to you soccer fans. I fell in love with running. I could run incredibly fast. It lit me up because I was good at it. It brought me happiness. It brought me joy. There was a euphoria that came with it. There was an understanding because you competed against yourself. I mean, yes, there are other people there, but it's a race against you to always be your best. So I would always know from day one, what numbers do I have to hit? What numbers do I have to reach? I remember I had a coach in high school named Coach Rare. I had another coach, Coach Hool. And these two incredible coaches, they wanted their students to not only succeed, they wanted them to have incredible success. They didn't want good. They didn't want better. They wanted us to be our best. They didn't care about necessarily perfection, but they wanted us to reach our individual levels of optimization. I remember running once, and I was already number one on the team. I was the fastest guy on the team. I had, my records. I had my championship rings. I had everything to kind of prove it, but I still wanted to be my best. And my coach, I had asked him, I said, what can I do? What can I do to be better? Like, I feel like I'm just missing something. And when I go to the big leagues, I need to be able to be the best. And he said, well, I'm happy you've asked. You run horribly. You've created some horrible habits when you run. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, teach me. I was in a state where I could listen. I was in a state where I could hear. Again, I was great. I wanted to be the best I could be. I wanted to achieve my best because it fulfills me, made me happy. So he had to teach me a whole new way of running. And that sounds simple. I mean, is there one way to run? You just kind of run, right? Well, he would teach me how I would run. Then he would teach me how to stand on the block. My race was the 400 meters. And that is one whole lap around that course, one whole lap. And he would teach me how to run, how to stride. When I was run, I didn't realize that my arms were just kind of going up to my chest line. He was teaching me how to basically use my arms, how to breathe differently. And I'll tell you, it only got better. Find the things that light you up. This is what I have found. Don't try to please other people by doing something that other people love. Now, there is no problem with trying new things, but do the things that light you up and then hone your craft. Beat upon it every single day until you are the absolute best at it. And this is what will bring you joy. So as I was running, something happened. I grew a ton one summer. So I'm right now, I'm 6'5". I love when I get to meet people who've been watching the podcast and they say, oh my gosh, I didn't know how tall you were. Yeah, I'm 6'5", and I've been 6'5" since I was 15. And what ended up happening is I grew so quickly one summer that the growth plate in my left knee shattered. It broke. And they had to go through there and put a huge screw, longer than my finger, inside my knee. And it was a pretty painful surgery because they had to button down that growth plate. And so I had to learn. I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like, this is horrible. I can't run anymore. This is awful. And I went 3 months without any rehab. I went 3 months on crutches because that's what we were told to do. And my leg, and I was a tall, super skinny kid back then, but my leg ended up getting so atrophied, it was the size of an ankle. I lost every ounce of muscle in my left leg. And so once we had realized this, I remember going to the doctor's office, and I remember sitting with the doctor. I remember laying my leg out in front of him, and he said, "All right, Jake, I want you to lift your leg for me." I said, "Okay, easy." And I'm looking at it thinking, why won't this thing lift? Stared at it. It's not lifting. Have you ever been able to not control your body? This hit me really hard. I thought, oh my gosh, for the first time in my life, I can't control it. I can't control something in me. I could help with my speech. I could become the best track athlete. I played basketball. I loved it. But this time I couldn't do it. So we had to start doing exercises, little simple exercises, putting pressure against my foot, wiggling my toes, putting more weight-bearing exercises. So as I went through this rehab, he said, one of the best things you can do is just stand. Just stand on the thing. Help it rebuild that strength again just by standing. And I discovered at this time, I had a major passion for archery. I still remember watching Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves with Kevin Costner. And I remember thinking, man, this is awesome. And I fell in love with it. And I realized, again, you compete against yourself in archery. You literally have to do, so I don't know if you've ever shot a bow, and there's a ton of different types of bow and arrows out there. But I remember getting this PSE Spirit. It was a great model. I remember my dad took me, so Christmas was around the corner. But because I was still struggling, I'll never forget this. My dad took me to a place called Jake's Archery. And my name's Jake, so it was kind of cool. I remember he took me to Jake's Archery. And it was way before Christmas. And I was like, yeah, what are we doing here? He's like, you know what? We're getting you fit for your very own bow. I thought, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And again, as I mentioned, we were very blessed as kids. My dad worked incredibly hard. My mom worked to make heaven on earth in our home. I was very blessed. And there were times where we had a lot. My dad was a general contractor, times where we had a lot. And there were a lot of times where we didn't have. But my dad always worked hard. And so I knew going into this that my dad was sacrificing so that I could have something to make me better. My parents always looked out for us. So I remember getting fitted for my bow and then that night shooting my bow. And we lived a couple of miles away from Jake's Archery. And so I remember our PT saying, hey, again, standing is going to be one of the best things on this thing. And we had a nice backyard, so I could shoot my bow, stand, go get my arrows back and forth. But our backyard was only so big, I needed a wider range. And so, again, my leg was still going through rehab at this time. And as it was going through rehab, I literally said, I could ride my bike with my bow in its case in one hand, and I could take my right leg and push really hard and pedal. And that's what I did. I would ride a couple of miles to Jake's Archery and I would shoot my bow day in and day out. And it was amazing. Again, because I competed against myself. I would visualize, I would breathe. I would visualize my healing. I would visualize being able to run again. I would visualize being my best. I would visualize being able to accomplish everything that I wanted to accomplish. This is the first moment in my life where I realized that it is not the physical that holds us back. It is the space between your ear and your ear. That is the only thing that holds you back. That space between your ear to ear and that 18 inches between your head and your heart. When you can see that, when you can honestly, truly look inside yourself and say that there are no physical limitations that can stop me, it's just my mindset, you can change your life. So I got great at archery, fell in love with it, and had a blast. I was able to get my leg rehabbed. And I still remember, I made the basketball team. I remember playing ball, and I was really funky. And for those of you who play sports, if you jump off your left leg, you use your right hand, for example, for a layup. You jump your left, use your right. I would jump with right, shoot with right, because I didn't have that strength. I always kind of just let it go. And I remember we were in 8th grade going into 9th grade. And I remember this year, I remember a buddy and my coach finally saying, like, Jake, just slam dunk the thing. And I'd never slam dunked before. I'd hung on the rim. And I didn't realize that I was holding myself back. And I thought, you know what, why not? I went and I jumped off my left leg. I had a little bit of fear, but I said, I've done all my work. I've rehabbed it. Let's do this. I got to about my elbow on the rim and I slam dunked it. And we were doing warm-ups right before a game. And so my coach looks at me and he says, there he is, do it again. And so all during our warm-ups, I was the only kid slamming it, and it put fear into this other team. I remember watching this team and feeling, oh my gosh, look what I've accomplished. I can dunk again. I knew I would get there, but look how awesome this is. And we were able to play. I don't even remember what the score was, but I remember being able to run again and being able to actually see strength occur in that leg. And life was absolutely incredible. Again, but it always started with this mental mindset. Right after high school, I wanted to exercise my faith, and I wanted to serve a mission. I've always been taught that where much is given, much is required. If you've been given knowledge, you have to share that knowledge. If you've been given blessings, you should share those blessings to bless the lives of others and to get blessed in return. And so I went and served a mission, and I was called to serve in Mexico, Torreon. It is in the north central part of Mexico. And in this area, I learned so much. I was able to come to know who I am, that I'm a son of God, that I came to truly, I've always been kind of tough on myself to learn. I'm sure a lot of you guys are. One of my new favorite friends in quotes, Michael Chandler, says that the enemy is the inner me when I talk negative to myself. And I would realize this, that even though I would have a mental mindset of strength, I would beat myself up and be unforgiving. I learned to forgive, and I learned to love the incredible Mexican people. I absolutely loved them. And as I was there, we were there as missionaries to help serve. And we would always have goals in our service. Like, instead of just going out aimlessly, what can we do? I took my mindset and I took my love. So I took that 18-inch gap. And what did I do? I put it to work. We were asked as missionaries, go out and teach about 15 to 20 lessons a day. Go out and do some good. Serve the people, love people, teach them about God, do acts of service, do everything you can. But they wanted to have 15 to 20 interactions or discussions a day. We got to the point where we were doing 30 and then 60 and then 90 and more people. It seemed just to flow into us. And it was interesting. I learned a very valuable lesson that in life, the fight does not become easier, but we become more powerful. One of my favorite quotes says, that which we persist in doing becomes easier to do. Not that the nature of the task has changed, but the power to do is increased. It's very interesting how I thought, gosh, it was tough. And my mission, I was there for 2 years. The first year was definitely a challenge, very rewarding. There were days where I was beaming ear to ear, days I was bawling my eyes out. I grew to understand the power of persistence, the power of faith, and faith is action. I learned that enthusiasm is no more or less than your faith in action. We would teach up to 90 discussions in a week, where most would do anywhere from 15 to 20. Why did that change? Because my power increased. I honed my craft. I fell in love with the people. There's wonderful word in Spanish called ánimo. And if you speak Spanish, you understand what it means, but it means to be enthusiastic, to have enthusiasm, to be of good cheer, to have happiness, to have love, to have faith, to smile, to be animated. And I remember walking in my very first area with a companion who I was with. Missionaries always go in twos. And I remember, it's like, dude, this word is awesome. I love this word. I'm just going to shout it at everybody. And it's very interesting. I had a little bit of a realization hit me again as a missionary. You're learning a new language. You're learning, in Mexico, they speak Spanish. So I'm learning Spanish. And I felt myself regress a little bit because I thought, shoot, if I can't speak like I did when I was little, I'm not going to be able to help people. I'm going to be misunderstood. I was able to overcome that. And I remember I would walk around and I would say, "Animo." And my friend who was with me, who was native born in Mexico, would say, no, you can't do that. You can't just shout at people. People are going to think you're weird. You just can't do that. It's the power behind words, which is what matters. The power behind words, the love we put into them, the fuel we put behind them is so important. How many of you guys have heard of the water droplet study? The water droplet study, they would scream words of hate into a water droplet and freeze it. They would talk words of love and kindness and patience and endearing love to a water droplet, and then they would freeze it. And the one they'd spoke hate to would grow all abnormal. It would get discolored. Nothing was symmetrical. The ones on the other side who they'd spoken love to grew symmetrically, beautifully. So the power of words. So I discovered that I fueled all of my love into this word animo. And we started to change this area. There were 3 states in our area. We would print up words of animo and give it to people. We would print up because it was this word of happiness. It was joy. It was just pure, just jubilant happiness in my life. I would travel to another state in the mission and I would see animo in a taxi cab. We had to take a flight. I remember in the flight, the cockpit of the plane had animo in it. It began to transform. Now, is it a cool word? Yes. But it was the power and love behind those words. So you guys, what does this mean for in my life? You have to anchor yourself to positivity. And it's not just being ignorant to the things around you. A ship is surrounded by water. And why is it that it can float? Because it doesn't let what's outside go inside of it. Coming out of COVID, we live in a world that wants us to be fearful, that wants us to hate, that wants us to close in, have a scarcity mindset, as opposed to growing. More millionaires, more billionaires are made during these crazy times than any other time in history. More love can happen, more good can happen. Mr. Rogers, what does his mom say when he was scared? When he's looking at all the evil happening on TV, she'd say, just look for the helpers. Look for the helpers, look for the good. And that's what I've had to do in my life is you have to look for the positive. And positivity is everywhere around you. How many of you guys get a new car? And when you get that car, you notice that all around you are models of your car. Now, you just became aware of this. You're like, oh my gosh, everyone must have just got a car too. Well, no, you're now aware of it. You're now focused in on it. And the things that we focus on grows. So when you focus on positivity, you find it everywhere. You focus on abundance, you find it everywhere. And instead of lack thereof, abundance happens to you, and it happens quick if you're willing to receive and you're willing to infuse it with love. After my mission, came back, and this was about 2002. And before that time, I had met my dear wife and I. We were best friends in high school. We were really close. We loved to sing. We met each other in a cappella choir. I actually remember the day I met her. We were walking down the hallway of our school. We had this really long high school. It was Mountain View in Orem, Utah. Best high school ever. Go Bruins. And I remember walking down to a talent show with the whole school was heading to this talent show. And I heard the most adorable laugh. And I turned and I saw my future wife. I literally almost smacked the wall. My buddy had to pull me to the side. I almost hit the wall. And the rest is history. We got married. We have 3 beautiful boys. And we had some incredible blessings. I started getting really sick after my wife and I had first got married. And I would get these lymph nodes that would just swell up like baseballs on my neck. I had a lot on my leg, and they couldn't figure out why. I ended up having I had some of these little things removed. They couldn't figure out what was going on. And at this time, I had a good friend say, you know what? You should seek out a chiropractor. And the gentleman who was over missionary work in our mission was a phenomenal chiropractor, Kurt Alexander. And he did several adjustments on me. And literally, after he did these adjustments, I stopped getting sick. I remember him touching my back and tying my nervous system to all my organs and telling me what had been going on. And I was able to, after 2 years, and after $24,000 of spending money out of our own account. And again, my wife and I, we were poor, starving students. We didn't have a lot of money. We were able to discover that my nervous system was a wreck. And we were able to discover the power that the body has to heal itself, the power of the mind to heal itself. And I was enrolled in chiropractic school. And we went through school, and I vowed I would be the best. I had a doctor who'd saved my life. I wanted to give hope and light and happiness to all those around me. So I dedicated myself to greatness. We had this teeny little apartment in Carrollton, Texas. And we had just had our firstborn son, Ethan. And I remember I would take him at night if he was up, and I would have my cue cards with him in one hand and a blanket over me. It was in the wintertime, we would get super cold, but because we were so poor, we couldn't afford to heat the place a whole lot. So I would open up our oven. I would walk by it with my son, with my cue card, and I'd warm us up a little bit, and I would pace. We actually had a little trail paced in our carpet or edged in our carpet from where I would pace from learning. I would get up around 3:30 every single day. I would study. I would have my class early in the morning, all my classes, everything that you do when you're in school. I would come home, be a husband, be a father, and then I would study again, and then I would rinse and repeat. And so I worked hard. I became a chiropractor. I went to work for my mentor, and it was an incredible journey. And 2 years after this, and I describe it almost like I was on a journey, like on a cruise, going to a beautiful, beautiful like Caribbean island, Paradise Island. And I remember because, man, school was over. We're graduated. We're working. I get to help people. I get to change lives. And then tragedy struck. It was November 23rd of 2012. It was a Black Friday. And I'll invite you to come with me on this journey. We went to kind of a sporting goods place, and I was buying some stuff for my boys. Again, Black Friday was really, really busy. Lots of people everywhere buying stuff. Had to use the restroom. So I went to use the restroom. So as you can imagine, this is something we do every single day. But I went to the restroom, and after I had flushed the toilet, a water pipe broke, and it started to douse me and spray me from water from behind. And as that happened, I remember, you're thinking, like, what's going on? You're shocked. It's cold water. I reached to my left and I grabbed the handicap bar, the safety rail. And as I grabbed it to stand up, because there's water everywhere, the bar came out of the wall. And as it came out, as I was standing up, I fell backwards and I split my head open on the back of the metal pipe of the toilet. And I remember waking up in an ambulance, and I remember them asking questions. And I remember them saying, hey, we're taking you to the hospital. Here's what's happened. You've split your head. And I remember at first feeling, I can't hear out of my ear. And the guy said, oh, there's just water in it. You had a lot of blood. And at this point, I was bleeding like crazy. There was water from the water spray. He said, yeah, we were able to break the door down and get you out of there. He goes, so it's probably just water. And I remember getting to the hospital, and I remembered coming to over and over again, which I realized I thought I was just kind of just spotting my memory at that point. I was passing out because the pain was so bad. At first, just thinking, gosh, my body's going to heal itself. Hey, I've got patients tomorrow. It'll probably be a rough night and I'll be in tomorrow. We didn't realize how bad it was. We had to do all these images. And my wife had been called by one of the police officers or firemen. They'd found my phone. They'd called her and just said, hey, Jake was in an accident. He's going to be okay. Why don't you come and pick him up and come and see him? And so my wife came with our two little boys, Ethan and Beckham, who were very, very young. And she walked into my room, and there was blood all over the floor and blood all over the pillow. And she literally had to get them out of there. We were able to get some friends to come watch them. And she basically tended to me as we would wait for results. We went through hundreds of boxes of gauze just because I was still bleeding. They couldn't suture because they had to be sure what type of injury I was going through. And I still remember thinking, I'm going to be okay. It's going to be just fine. I got work. It's maybe I'll have to miss work tomorrow. Maybe I'll have to do that. And I remembered that night, because we had little ones, and my wife said, hey, I'm going to go home with the boys. I'll be here first thing in the morning. And my wife had just left, and I just was feeling, just for the first time in my life, really alone. And the nurse, I remember her looking at me, saying, hey, so, I'm explaining to you how the night works. If you use the restroom, you hit this button, and then I'll come and I'll help you go. And I was like, oh no, I can go. And she says, Dr. Hansen, I don't think you realize how bad this is. She goes, you can't get up and go to the bathroom on your own. And I said, well, why not? And she goes, every time you move your head, every time you sit up, you pass out. I said, oh, really? She said, yeah. And she goes, and plus we've strapped you to the bed so that you can't get up. You're not allowed to. And I didn't realize I was strapped to the bed. And on my right wrist, I remember seeing they had put a band. I had my hospital band, and the other band said fall risk. And I remembered crying, like, wait, what? I remembered feeling like I did when I had my knee surgery. I couldn't move my leg. And I was telling my mind, move the leg, and it wouldn't do it. And I remembered telling myself, okay, no, this is silly. Just sit up. This is silly. Just move your head. And I remember I would black out, and I remember coming to. I thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So I said, well, how long do you think I'll be here for? I see a lot of patients. My wife, we have 2 young boys. She's in a high risk pregnancy right now. Like, I need to be home. And she looked at me and said, and I said, so like, what part of the hospital am I in? She goes, we first took you to the ICU, but you're now in the neuro ICU. You're in the most critical area we have for people. And I thought, I'm in the neuro ICU? And it hit me. She said, yeah, you're probably going to be here for quite some time. And she pointed across the hallway and said, see that guy over there? He's been here for a few months already. And I thought, well, this isn't going to happen. So I began to put mind over matter. I began to work, and it was a very rough time. We discovered that because of my traumatic brain injury, I was deaf in my left ear completely. I lost about 60% of the hearing in my right. And then I suffered such damage that my balance got thrown off. The part of my brain that receives and interprets and holds on to new information had been killed. It basically died. So new information was hard for me to bring in. And I couldn't walk correctly. I would fall over. I couldn't talk right. I remember telling my wife in the hospital, babe, I want to go home. Like, let's go home. And I kept saying, let's go to the airport. It made sense to me, but I had to go through a whole lot. And I put myself through a strict rehab. My wife was incredible. I had colleagues and family that came to support us, and we were able to overcome. And we were able to do it to the point where I could open up my own practice. And so today we have one of the most successful chiropractic offices. We have people from all over who come to see us. We're blessed to help a lot of people. We're known obviously on a local level. We're known on a national and an international level. And I discovered again that passion, that mind over matter, if I can be my best, I can impact the lives of those around me. And we've been so very blessed. So, who am I? I'm a chiropractor. I'm an entrepreneur. We have many, many businesses that we sit on. I sit on several foundations. I sit on a few boards where we advise. So I'm a business advisor. I'm a public speaker. We help influence over 1,000 chiropractors in the world. And this brings me joy. Again, Zig Ziglar once said, you can have anything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. I had to put my health as a priority. I would focus on that to the point where then I could then bring value to others. And we absolutely love what we get to do. And just recently, I had another concussion. I can't go into very many details, but the long story short is the concussion happened. I sneezed and hit my head on the back of a nail, and it's ruptured some ligaments in my neck. And it's done some crazy stuff, and it brought up some of the old stuff again. But I feel that same passion and drive that even though I have my physical limitations that comes with the mental and the emotional, I know for a fact that even though the road is hard, when I am able to focus on what matters most in life, when I'm able to focus on being my best self, and adding value to other people, life is beautiful. You guys, you have to make your presence count. You have to be a force for good. If you can make your presence count and add value to the lives of other people, anything is possible. I am honored to be alive, to share this with you. I feel committed. I feel I have a sacred responsibility to share what I've learned. And that is why we created the Abundant Mind Show. I created it in part for me, to empower me to see others as I go through my trials and struggles. And it's interesting, the most successful people we interview, we put them on a pedestal. And we've interviewed billionaires, the top health champions in the world, the top minds of the world, emotional minds of the world. We've interviewed the top real estate investors in the world, people who've gone through severe healthcare crises. And we put them on a pedestal, don't we? But literally, when I talk to them, it is so amazing for them to say, oh yeah, I'm going through this personal crisis right now, an emotional issue, or I have a physical problem. And I'm thinking, wait, you're human? How's that possible? Well, all of us are human. All of us are going to go through trials, and it all depends on where we drive and where we set our heart and our mind. Set yourself for greatness. Set yourselves for greatness. One of my absolute favorite quotes by Les Brown, he says, most people fail in life not because they aim too high and miss, but because they aim too low and hit. Set your aim high. Set it high. Never speak negative to yourself. Cancel those things immediately. Speak positive. Speak words of love and kindness. Fill your life with purpose. Be laser focused on what you want. Reverse engineer. Look at the end in mind. What is it that I want in life? Look at that end desired result with money, finances, purpose, vacation, time, the people you want in your life. Look at those things and then reverse engineer how you will get there. Aim high, reach for success. Everything that you want in the world is yours. You can have everything you want if you can help others have what they want. Continually fill yourself with happiness and joy. Read. Leaders are readers. Continually fill your mind with purpose. And you will find, just like again with that new car, you get a new car, you see everyone around you driving that car. When you fill your mind with purpose, when you fill your mind with the life lessons that other people have learned and that are now teaching you through their words, learn these lessons and it will allow you to achieve a level of success faster than you ever thought possible.